And a mask mandate is in discussion again in St. Louis, while the county is looking at a mandate shortly after overturning one. Also, Howard has a creamy sweet treat that you won't want to miss in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
It's election day in the 4 states. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Zach Dodge. For many in our area, especially Southwest Missouri, they'll be deciding on tax questions. So it's your chance to decide how your city or county spends your tax dollars. Voters in Jasper County, Purcell, Carthage, Joplin, Oronogo, and Avila, Missouri, as well as Cherokee County, Kansas, will all have items on their ballots. There are no offices to fill. The elections are just over issues, mostly tax questions. Polling places are currently open, so you'll have until 7 p.m. to cast your vote in both states. We have breakdowns of most of the issues voters are facing on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll also have results on our website after the polls close. Voters in Purcell, Missouri will decide whether to sell their wastewater utility to Missouri American Water. If approved, it would net the city $200,000, and city officials say further investment from Missouri American Water.
Pledged to invest about $2.4 million, I believe, over the next 5 years in Purcell in the systems. So that gives the citizens comfort, I think, to know that we're going to be there, we're going to make the investments, and we're going to make sure the systems are running and meeting regulation.
Again, voters will decide on the issue today. Now we're going to go to Michael Hayslip with our look at what we have going on the rest of this beautiful day.
And so oftentimes, Zach, when we talk about election days, particularly the ones that hit in April, I know
Right.
a big definitive factor in turnout can actually be the weather. And of
Right.
course, we have the general ones that we talk about in November. Weather can play a role in theirs. I tell you, the polling places, and for those of you that want to get out and take part in it, Mother Nature is spoiling us today.
Yes,
As far as
for
how
sure.
comfortable it is, considering it's the 3rd day of August. Live look outside of Television City, where we've got a little cloud cover that has grown, and our temperatures right now, look at this, 82. 82 is as high as we're seeing here at the noon hour, and that's in Neodesha. We've got a whole bunch of 81s spread throughout Miami and Grove, and even 79s in Monette and Cassville. Look up top. They're still sitting at a trio of 77s in Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada. So like I said, weather is not going to play a concern. Now, it's kind of funny to think about this. I haven't factored in today because we haven't reached our peak heating hour, and 80 is what we've got on the board there. But even if we go back-to-back 84s on Sunday, Monday, we'll be about at 84 today. That 9-day rolling average is still 92.4 degrees. Even if we factor in an 84 for today, it's going to drop at about 1 degree. It would still be about 91.5. The Skywatch Storm Tracker has remained clear, except this little patch that's been hanging right on the Missouri-Arkansas state line. And it's been there all morning long to the tune of about 1/4 of an inch of accumulation. Nothing around it, however. It's just been one of those that refuses to go away. The rest of the 4 states going to remain dry here. About 2 to 5 o'clock, that's when we got a chance for some spotty activity. One of those that lasts 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, told you this morning. Yesterday, about 3 o'clock, I had a total of maybe 5-6 raindrops. Hit the windshield out of the blue. Kept on going south.
I didn't get any rain at all.
Everything had passed. So that's about what it'll be. Now, slowly warming up, coming up in just a little bit. You know what I'm going to hammer on.
Oh, yeah.
Air quality. And not only that, we're going to break down the colors of the map because this is a new thing that we're kind of doing. So I want to explain to everybody exactly when we show that interactive map what those colors mean.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Michael. Last week, the city and county of St. Louis, Missouri imposed an indoor mask mandate. Then Missouri AG Eric Schmidt filed a lawsuit against the mandate the day it went into effect. In the meantime, though, the St. Louis County voted to overturn the mandate. Now that debate is up for discussion yet again.
After after a contentious vote last week at the county council meeting to overturn the mask mandate. There's already another push to reinstate it.
The reason I want to have this masking ordinance is because we do have this mask order in court now. And if that fails, we need the backstop by having the masking mandate through our own ordinance.
An ordinance, Councilwoman Lisa Clancy says, is the only way she was told council has the power to pass the legislation. If it passes, it becomes a law. Councilman Tim Fitch says that means people could face criminal charges if they violate it.
Let's say they didn't have a mask on. A police officer could write them a ticket for a misdemeanor, and they could be sentenced up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine. I will never, ever support a criminal penalty for a violation of a health mandate.
Wayne Norwood.
It's exactly what's going on in Washington, D.C. with Nancy Pelosi. Not in favor of it.
Says a mask mandate punishes people like him.
I've been vaccinated. I got vaccinated early. I did everything dutifully like every other responsible person. I think it's offensive to anyone who also followed the rules.
Others.
I'm wearing my mask for sure. Safety first.
Have no problem continuing to wear a mask.
I just think people should do what's right. And I think health issues and pulling together and doing what's right for the nation, for your community, is what you should do.
Yesterday, a federal judge ruled that the state courts should handle the lawsuit to overturn the St. Louis area mask mandates. Local health providers are offering COVID vaccine and testing clinics this week. The Jasper County Health Department is continuing a vaccine clinic from yesterday. From 1 to 3 p.m., residents can get either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. Freeman Health System is planning a Johnson & Johnson vaccine clinic tomorrow. That's from 3 to 5 p.m. and requires pre-registration. You can register by calling 417-502-7468. And the state of Missouri is hosting a free COVID-19 testing clinic in Joplin at the Roxy. It's today on the 5th and then again on the 10th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. While we have plenty of access to COVID vaccines here in the U.S., the rollout abroad has been much slower. So some people are traveling to the U.S. to get the shot. Since May, the San Francisco airport has vaccinated around 1,000 people from over 50 different countries. And a lot of those people are willing to pay a lot to get here, some as much as $18,000 on flights and hotels. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon, Boeing hits another snag ahead of the launch of Starliner, while the pressure is up for the company to stick the landing. And later, an accident at a Tennessee museum sends 3 to the hospital. Topping Nation Watch, NASA and Boeing have postponed today's launch of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft after engineers discovered issues with the propulsion system. This comes after Boeing's last attempt in 2019 didn't go as planned. Mark Strassman has the story.
And liftoff. Space is hard. So hard, it can make even the biggest aerospace company in the world feel small.
Vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
For Boeing, that was December 2019.
And we have good indication of separation of the OFT capsule.
Minutes after separating from the rocket's second stage, Boeing's Starliner flew into trouble. Its onboard engines were supposed to fire, boosting the spacecraft into orbit. That did not happen.
And we do have an off-nominal insertion reported.
Another problem. Flight controllers could not communicate with Starliner. By the time they could, it was too late. Without enough fuel left to reach the International Space Station, Starliner returned to Earth.
And Starliner touches down in the desert in New Mexico.
A NASA-Boeing investigation recommended 80 actions before Starliner should fly again.
We addressed every single one.
Former NASA astronaut Chris Ferguson has spent the last decade developing Boeing's Starliner.
Was it humbling?
I think humbling is a good word to use. It was a good cause, at least for everyone involved in this program, to take a step back and look and see where we came up short and we needed to sort of bolster. And I think, company-wide, that there was a lot of introspection.
In 2014, NASA awarded SpaceX and Boeing multi-billion-dollar contracts to ferry its astronauts to and from the ISS. Both companies suffered setbacks.
And look at them go.
But SpaceX has flown 10 astronauts over 3 flights to the ISS in the last year.
Do you still believe that having a second option is necessary?
Absolutely.
NASA would eventually like to use the spacecraft to get astronauts to and from the International Space Station. 3 are injured after an iceberg wall collapse at the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. All 3 were taken to the hospital after the collapse, and the museum is currently closed. The Titanic Museum allows passengers to experience the environment of the museum, which includes touching a real iceberg. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Today, we're turning these peaches into a fresh pie that's comfort at its best. With pie this good, you'll never want to make another dessert.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Realize for the majority of people with the blue skies that we have right now, even with the haze and the temperatures just well below average for this time of August, it's been a great time to be outside. We are going to break down some possible health issues for people though. We'll start with our current conditions over 7th and Rangeline and Joplin, a very comfortable 80 degrees. As a matter of fact, we're still holding on to almost some mid-70s in some places, a far cry from what our average should be on August 3rd. Historically, we'd be about 91 degrees during the afternoon. We'll top out around 84. The record high, I was like, that's nothing out of this world. Look at the record low. 1950, it only got up to 53 degrees on August the 3rd. I wanted to put this on about a 6-hour loop down here, what transpired right at the Missouri-Arkansas state line, just south of Cassville. And watch this thing bubble up, stick, give it a break, and then come right back in the exact same place. They're bordering on about a 1/4 inch of precipitation up until this point of time. Everybody else has remained dry and will so until this afternoon. Air quality warning for Kansas City. Why is that important? Well, let's go ahead and break down a map that shows us air quality warnings indicated in gray from the West Coast wildfires. Stretch all the way on the other side of the Rockies through Colorado and the entire state of Minnesota, pretty much, and DFW and KC. So let's go ahead and break down what's called the old air quality map. This is an interactive map that updates quite frequently. And as we zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice the dividing line between the yellow and the orange. So to give you an idea, throughout southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, that's indicated in the orange, but we don't do this a whole lot. And so what does that mean? Well, the orange, that's unhealthy for sensitive groups, COPD, asthma, the general public, less likely to be affected by that. And then you see the yellow, air quality is acceptable, however, may be a risk for some people, particularly those who are usually sensitive to air pollution. The best thing to do is when you go to airnow.gov, pop that map open in the morning. They've got a number of interactive maps, and it gives you an idea, you know, depending on your conditions or those you love, your kids and whatnot. May not want them out for prolonged periods of time, especially if it involves strenuous activities, because this haze that we have today, that we had yesterday, well, check out our nighttime planner. It sticks around. As a matter of fact, that air advisory warning that they have for Kansas City lasts all the way until Wednesday night. So our haze is going to be here just as well. Now, speaking of Wednesday and Thursday, Zach, little bump up on the mercury. Then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then we're going to be talking about the old reemergence of good old-fashioned summertime heat.
All right.
Nice thing is, by the time we get to the weekend, the haze should be drifting on the other side of the Mississippi.
Okay.
So we'll call that a winter.
That haze has been sticking around quite a bit.
I tell you, it goes to show you how much smoke and ash is coming out of those.
Right, for sure. But thank you very much, Michael. We take this time now to honor today's four-state hero. Staff Sergeant Clint Callanan served in the Army from 2002 to 2010. His hometown, Girard, Kansas. We're proud to recognize Staff Sergeant Clint Callanan, our four-state hero. Fresh peaches, sweet cream, and some whipped cream for just a little bit of extra sweetness. Howard has a great anytime dessert in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
This is the time of year that fresh peaches are pretty much available everywhere at some really reasonable prices. And that means we can turn them into cobblers, add them to our smoothies, or best of all, use them in all sorts of baked goods, like the creamy dreamy pie that we're making today. We start by lining a pie plate with either a homemade or refrigerated pie crust and fluting the edges. Now, in a small bowl, we combine some brown sugar, flour, a touch of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. After giving this a stir, we add some fresh cream and give it a mix. Now, we fill our pie crust with a good amount of sliced fresh peaches and pour the cream mixture over them. After baking it and letting it cool at room temp, into the fridge it goes until it's time for dessert. Right before serving, finish it with dollops of fresh whipped cream and thin slices of fresh peaches for an even fancier look. This pie is everything we love about fresh summer dessert. To get the recipe for our Peachy Keen Cream Pie, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a peachy delicious way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the four-state market. Six Flags Fiesta Texas wants to test how deep the pit of your stomach is with a new world record-beating roller coaster. The ride, called Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, debuts in 2020. Riders will travel at a blistering 60 miles per hour on 2,500 feet of track. The main features, though, are a 95-degree beyond vertical drop and a 270-degree zero-G roll. And standing here, looking at this video, my palms are already sweating. That's crazy.
Yeah, beyond 90 degrees here, so technically you're kind of upside down.
Right?
I'm trying to fathom that.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So you gotta kind of go.
Yeah, almost backwards like that.
Yeah.
Under.
I'm all about that action. All right, temperatures up into the mid-80s today. A little spotty rain for the afternoon. It certainly won't affect everybody and short-lived. Now remember, incrementally warming up, and that haze, it's sticking around until tomorrow.
Now Dow Click joins us with what's coming up at 5.
Yeah, at 5, about 17 million adults in the U.S. suffer with depression. It's known that food plays a role in our mental health, but what foods can hurt or help your mental health? We're going to find out. Plus, Joplin area officials and health experts come together for a push to get more people vaccinated. And Miami Police and Fire hold a friendly competition at their annual blood drive. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. KOAM News at 5.
And thank you very much for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.